Welcome to the Astro Psyche. This is your weekly astrology forecast for November 18th through the 24th. We have several big transitions that are happening this week. Pluto will change signs, it will move into Aquarius. We're continuing to deepen into the experience of the Mercury, Jupiter, Saturn T-square. The sun is moving into Sagittarius, and a lot of other things that we're going to talk about this week. My name is Shawna McGrath. I'm a depth psychotherapist and an astrologer, and I am so honored to have you here and really excited to share the astrology of this week with you from a depth psychological perspective in the way that I see it for you right now at this point in time via my own personal lens, personal perspective. Okay, so let's talk about Pluto. So this is a very long-term transit, a long-term change that is happening this week. And this is a somewhat new energy, but we have experienced it before very recently. So Pluto is the slowest planet in our solar system. So it is the planet that we could say most holds the energy of collective experiences that we have, experiences that happen over long periods of time that generations of folks share. So it is very much, and of course, personal. There's a personal component of Pluto, but when we're talking about Pluto changing signs, it's really this more collective phenomenon. And of course, we all participate in that in varying different ways. But this is important to keep in mind with Pluto, is that it is this very long-term arc of experience. Pluto is in a sign about 15 to 20 years at a time. So Pluto it made its initial movement into Aquarius in March of 2023, so March last year, and was there until August of 2024. In September, Pluto retrograded back into Capricorn, and this week of November 18th, Pluto is moving again into Aquarius, and it will stay there for about 19 years. It'll be in Aquarius until 2043. And so Pluto is this symbol of the unconscious, of unconscious patterns, unconscious dynamics, unconscious in that it holds symbolism for the things that we don't know, that we don't even know. And it holds symbolism for also the ways that we respond when there is an unconscious something that is happening. And the whole phenomenon around the unconscious and why Pluto is such a beautiful holder of this symbolism is that Pluto is about what is underneath something. Pluto is about the subterranean levels of things. It's like, okay, what is it that we see? But then let's peel back the layers, let's go down, let's look underneath the hood, so to speak. And this is what the unconscious is. The unconscious is the reservoir of all of the things that are underneath what it is that we see. And so I want to really drive home when we're thinking about the unconscious, when we're thinking about Pluto, unconscious does not equal bad. Pluto does not equal bad. I think that there can be a lot of fear around what is unconscious because the nature of it is that usually Pluto also holds symbolism around the things that we try to expel from ourselves, that we either try to project or we try to push down and deny, the unacknowledged, the marginalized. Like, these are all symbols around Pluto. So the things that we try to say, no, that's not me, I'm not that, or that this is bad. And so the thing though is that there can also be so much goodness and healing and vitality that is held within the unconscious as well. So just because we say, I don't like that thing, that doesn't mean that that thing is bad. It means that we feel, for some reason, whatever that may be, that that thing is not okay for some reason. And so I also want to say that Pluto is also a symbol of power, of control, feelings of powerfulness, empowerment, and then feelings of disempowerment. Pluto really holds these themes also around primal or pre-verbal states of awareness. And so like these feelings, like this is really connects into the unconscious as well, that there are experiences that we have that sometimes we don't even have words for. And this can be a feeling, it can be emotion, it can be something that you experience that is running through you via your ancestral line, that maybe there aren't even words for this phenomenon. And this is also symbolism that Pluto holds. Pluto can also be a symbol of cathartic healing, the healing process that happens when we go into a depth perspective. I'm going to pause for a second here and pull the shade, because I feel like there's a weird shadow that's happening, which is interesting because we're talking about Pluto. There's a shadow that was happening on my face that was distracting me. If you're just listening to the audio, it doesn't matter, I suppose. So there is this phenomenon with Pluto around healing. And particularly the healing that happens when we look at the unconscious, when we are curious about what it is that we don't know, when we move toward the things that maybe are scary or the things that are vulnerable. Pluto also holds symbolism around the death rebirth process, and this process of feeling the gravity, the weight, the intensity around these kinds of experiences. Whenever we have Pluto in the astrology, whether that is a transit or something in the natal chart, Pluto tends to intensify or be a, see, I want to correct myself here. So Pluto doesn't actually do anything. Pluto does, the astrology does not cause, it symbolizes, it correlates, it shows us experiences. So Pluto tends to represent and call attention to where we may have experiences that feel intense or urgent in some way. There's a sense of urgency. And this is really connected in with the life, death, rebirth process. There is an urgency there. There is a feeling of like we can't push pause on that process. It is happening. And so all of this, I'm sharing this with you to sort of like allow you to bathe in this experience of what Pluto is about. And as we change signs with Pluto from Capricorn, which is about, Capricorn is about finding stability in the physical material world. It's about safety and security, especially at a physical level. It's about tradition. And in contrast, Aquarius is about taking what we have, what is in existence, and then finding ways to sometimes radically change what has been in existence, and to question what it is that we've been doing, to say, is this working? Does this make sense? And to imagine what else is possible. And to be innovative, to be forward thinking, to be radical, to be, you know, Aquarius is progressive, Capricorn is tradition. And so we're moving into this exploration, this experiencing of Pluto themes, the unconscious, power, death, rebirth. We're moving into holding those themes in a way that maybe is more material and traditional, and moving into innovation in those areas. And to, like, I think Aquarius, so Aquarius is a fixed sign, so it is about developing upon something that has been initiated already. So there is this moving into further developing what has already been started, but also doing so in a way that is about change and innovation and really imagining what is possible. And of the zodiac, Aquarius is one of the signs that is most connective to group energy, to collective energy, to humanitarian issues. And I think that Pluto, it does bring this sense of urgency. And so I think it'll be really interesting to see how things play out as we move forward into this experience together with Pluto and Aquarius. As people are born with their natal Pluto and Aquarius, those people that are born with Pluto and Aquarius will hold this energy of this particular time period. And so I think for you, at a personal level, this is about really holding space and watching and noticing what you notice. I think we can look at the time period when Pluto moved into Aquarius from March of 2023 to August of 2024 to get a read on what the next year or two may be like. Where have these themes around working with the unconscious and feeling intense feelings and power dynamics, has that come up for you? How has that come up for you? Or maybe how has that come up around you in your circle for people that you know, people that you're close to? And I think that this is really about holding space for seeing into the unknown and seeing how the unknown is going to change and shift. Because this is usher in brand new Pluto transits, whether that is for you or someone else you know in your life. We're all going to experience Pluto in a different way going forward. So definitely more to come. I think I'll have more to say about Pluto and Aquarius. And yeah, I also love hearing how this is landing for you and what comes up for you as I'm talking about these things, how this is connecting in with you in your life right now. Now, also what's happening this week that is more short term, more of the now, is we are continuing to experience this Mercury, Jupiter, Saturn T-square that I talked about last week. And so I want us to, I'm like trying to talk about things more broadly, I think also because I want us to really think about that the astrology is happening in these waves and swells. And so, so often, just because an aspect is not exact does not mean that it's not building and then peaking and then dissipating. And so I think that we can get really focused in the astrology community on like the peak of exactness, and we really focus on that. But also then I think I want to bring in more of like the how the lead up to the exactness of the transit and then the dissipation of that, we also feel that, and that it is helpful to view this as like these simultaneous waves of energy that are overlapping with one another. So Mercury, the mind, communication, thought process, making meaning of things is really what Mercury is about. Jupiter being the symbol of hope and optimism, the symbol of conceptualizing things with a broader perspective. And then Saturn, the sense of practicality, limitation, and also devotion to a long-term mission. These themes are all sort of working together, and they're working together in a T-square, which is a tense aspect in that it really symbolizes that these themes are at the forefront, and there is a needing to tend to them. It is more difficult to avoid these kinds of energies when they are in a T-square like this. And so This particular week, the focus is more on Mercury being opposite Jupiter. So this is really this particular week, whereas last week it was Mercury in a square to Saturn. So last week it was more about this, like really getting into the details. And I think Mercury Saturn last week can also show up as like more serious or somber kind of thoughts. And so I think this week we still have that Saturn presence there, that sort of more serious tone, the more practical tone. And also this week, there's more of a theme around imagining what's possible and bringing more in that sense of the Jupiterian expansiveness. So this is really about expanding and contracting ideas, expanding and contracting what's possible, considering the possibilities. Sort of, I can think of this as like testing things out in your mind and doing imaginal experiments on, and like as you can even do this as like a meditation, and like think about a future possibility or scenario and then notice how that feels in your body, how that feels in your energy system. Does that feel like constricting or contractive? Does it feel safe and warm like a hug? Does it feel expansive and open? Does it feel too unbounded in openness? And so I think this is really a week to work with what it is that your energy system is saying about what is possible for you and what feels like this really beautiful mixture, this synthesis of expansion and containment. This is really the Jupiter-Saturn storyline that we've been working throughout this whole year, as Jupiter and Saturn have been in a square to one another. And so I think this particular moment, November and December, we have Mercury here, and Mercury will station retrograde in Sagittarius. So I think this is also why this is really important, is that we have Mercury here for a longer period of time. Really, we can think of Mercury retrograde as like massaging in our ideas and like massaging and working through a problem, chewing on it. Another component of this is that Mercury in Sagittarius will make a trine to Chiron this week. And so Chiron is the symbol of healing, of mentorship, of finding the path that is true for you. I know that we often call Chiron the wounded healer. I'm not incredibly a fan of that particular term for a variety of different reasons. That's a whole other conversation. And Chiron in the mythology was an astrologer, a physician, a mentor. And Chiron, his role, the essence of it, was to mentor folks, to help them become more of who they were and to refine their own skills and craft in whatever it is that they were going to do, whether that was being a warrior or physician or a metaphysician. And so when Mercury connects in with Chiron this week, this is really about connecting in with what is healing for you and what is growth inducing for you from a perspective of self-actualization, like really connecting into what your unique path and journey is from this point in time, and that you don't have to have the whole pathway mapped out for years to come. It's like really, okay, like what is happening right now? And again, Mercury is going to come back to, you know, it's hanging out in Sagittarius here. So this is also like contemplating this and not having to settle on a concrete, yes, this is it, sort of like contemplating what is healing for you and what is available to you. Now, also happening this week, the sun in Scorpio. So we're finishing up Scorpio season this week. So the sun in Scorpio is making a trine to Neptune. And trines are this effortless flow of energy. And they can be experienced as very pleasant. They can also be experienced as not so pleasant, but it's like things are just happening. So there's an effortlessness, and our experience of that is value neutral in some ways. So, um, so this is about the sun, the sense of conscious awareness, what it is that our focus, our conscious focus and awareness is on throughout time. And with the sun in Scorpio, there's this theme that we've been deepening into around intimacy and emotional bonds and how it is that we connect with other people. This is a very Sun in Scorpio tends to be a rich and deeply contemplative focus. When the sun makes an aspect to Neptune, Neptune tends to create a softening and a diffusion around structures and boundaries. And so Neptune also has this element of connecting us in with the divine, with something greater. I'm going to pause this for just one moment. I'm feeling a Neptunian moment. Hang on one second. Okay, I'm back from that brief pause. I'm laughing because I attempted to record this video yesterday and someone came to the door in the middle of it, and that just happened again right now. So it's very interesting. And I was feeling myself sort of getting lost in a Neptunian diffusion as well. So I'm gonna try to ground it in with Saturn here. And I think that we can really feel into Neptune in this sense of it is sort of like this, like, wait, what is happening? There can be a sense of kind of like getting lost in something, getting lost in a moment when we have Neptune experiences. And when it's the sun connecting in with Neptune, there can be this this like really being deeply moved and inspired by something, being moved and inspired by a state of consciousness, by being in nature, by art, by connecting with another person. That this is the sun. This sort of feels like it can be something that's more of an experience of awareness that happens for you. Like the sun is really connected in with the self, the sense of self. And when I say self, this is like that cohesive part of you that says, like, yes, this is me, and I am a person that's having a unique individual experience. The sun is the symbol of the ego. And the ego is the part of us that says, yes, this is me. I have an experience of me-ness, and you are you. Like that is the sun. And it's sort of interesting because Neptune is the opposite of that in some ways, or the contrast of that. Neptune is like, we're all connected, and Neptune is about the spiritual and the psychic and the mystical. It's this like symbol of omens and synchronicity, and how we have this connection even if there is not a physical connection that we can see. Neptune is about the unseen. And so I think that this week in particular, there could be these sort of like feelings of being in the flow, enchanted moments, synchronistic moments, omen moments. And it doesn't have to be, I think, especially because it's a trine, it doesn't have to be something that is super explicit or extreme. It can be very simple and subtle. And in fact, I find some of the most meaningful, synchronistic, omen kind of experiences that I've had have been more simple and subtle. And so it's really about the meaning, the experience, the felt sense of enchantment that you have. And so I think it's this is also something too that I want to say is that there's always these multiple layers of astrology that are happening, and sometimes they, like flavors, sometimes they taste like similar and they blend very well, and sometimes they sort of are very different. And so then we can have these experiences where, like with the Mercury Jupiter Saturn situation, where there's some tension there, and there's some tension in trying to like figure things out and to make sense of things. But then we can also have the Sun trine Neptune, where there's this sense of just like really feeling present or in the moment or enchanted by something, feeling in the flow. And we can, and those experiences, we might have a mixture of those experiences is what I'm saying here. Now, of course, Sun Neptune can also be states of escaping, checking out, dissociating. These are very valid and human ways of coping with anxiety. And so I want to name that that is something that could happen here as well. And so I think it's so important to acknowledge that that is something that happens, and that if we do that, if we check out, dissociate, whatever, whether it's via just kind of like being in daydream land or scrolling on social media or watching TV, or overworking, whatever it is, that there is a reason that you are doing that. And that there is that reason, usually for most folks, is because there's an experience of overwhelm or anxiety. There is something that is too much right now. And so I want to also hold space for like having a sense of non-judgment in the way that you experience Sun Neptune. And, you know, we can also create healthy spaces for Neptune to exist as an archetype in our lives. And so I think that we can do that via creating space for doing nothing as much as possible, as much as that's available to you. We can do that via creating space for mindfulness, mystical, meditative, magical experiences. We can do that by creating space for ritual. This is where Neptune can be channeled. Now, also this week, the sun is moving into the sign of Sagittarius on the 21st. And so this shift in awareness moves from our experience of deep, intense bonding to Sagittarius, which is more focusing on the philosophical meaning behind things, looking at where Scorpio is more about having experiences via relationships. Sagittarius is more about having experiences and gaining wisdom by doing something out in the world. There's like this having inspirational experiences through a more extroverted way of being. And that's, you know, of course, going to depend on what's happening for you. But I think that there is this sort of shift in tone on Thursday when the sun moves into Sagittarius. And of course, the sun is going to join that Mercury, Jupiter, Saturn party that I talked about. So we'll talk about that more. But I think overall, this is really a week of finding a sense of meaning and what feels, what makes sense to you, where you want to focus your mental energy feels really important, and how you want to create the experiences that are going to be satiating for you. That also feels really important this particular week. So I'm going to pull some tarot cards for you. And actually, I want to say a couple of other things. I know I said there was a lot of astrology this week, so I do want to mention, before I pull some tarot, is that the sun into Sagittarius will also immediately make a minor but helpful supportive aspect with Pluto. And so the sun moves into Sagittarius to the first degrees, and this means that it will make a sextile aspect with Pluto in the sign of Aquarius. And so we have fire and air, Sagittarius, Aquarius. And so there's this enlivening energy that can happen here. It's a sextile, so it is a more subtle aspect, but there is a sense of support and something to be offered here, something to be received here. And Sun Pluto as a planetary connection, as a planetary pair, these two really connect into our sense of vitality, our sense of empowerment, and having little subtle inklings into the unconscious, little subtle inklings into being able to see through something, being able to see below the surface. And so I think that in addition to the sun, so it's sort of an interesting chain of events, because the sun in Scorpio will make this helpful trine to Neptune, which itself is really themes around intuitive awarenesses, intuitive experiences, flow state experiences. And then the sun is going to change signs. And then once it does that, it connects with another planet that also connects us in with our intuitive sense or extrasensory perceptions, which in this case is Pluto. And so I think there's some support here for you to tap into around being able to see, being able to see with your metaphysical eye, being able to perceive something that is more than just what is on the surface. And so I think that's also brings in a sense of expanded awareness as the sun moves into Sagittarius. And what I also want to say about this too, so this connects in with the sun and the lunar cycle, is that this week we're having our last quarter moon in the sign of Virgo. This is happening Friday, the 22nd of November. And the last quarter moon is the point between the full moon, which is a culmination point, and the new moon, which is an inception point, a new beginning. And so typically the last quarter moon, where we're at this week, is a point in the monthly lunar cycle around deciding how you want to move forward with things in a way where you're like, okay, this is what I want to focus on right now. This is maybe what I don't really need or want to put my attention here right now, because our emotional energy is the tide of it this week is starting to become more introverted. There's starting to be a softer, more inward focus this particular week. And so for most folks, this means having a lower state of extroverted energy. So sort of having a softer, more internal focus. And when that happens, there are only so many things that we can physically or emotionally do or put our attention towards. And I think with this last quarter moon being in the sign of Virgo, there's especially a sense around discernment and parsing out what I'm thinking about. Gosh, what is it? The tale of Vasilisa. I think that's how you say it. This Russian tale that Clarissa Pinkola Estes talks about in her book Women Who Run with the Wolves, and a component of that tale, which is really cool and for all humans, not just women. A part of that folk tale is that Vasilisa is tasked with several different responsibilities and initiatory tasks, and one of them is to sort out seeds from dirt and to like sort things out. And she gets some mystical help in this process, but that process has always felt like that one little initiatory task has always felt very much like Virgo to me, and that it's about discerning what is a seedling, what holds something for you that you want to continue to grow, versus the earth, which is holding the seed, and also that is something that can be the container, and that we don't need to do something with at this particular moment. And so anyways, my point in sharing that is that that energy of sorting and being very particular is very present with this particular last quarter moon. Again, this is happening on Friday, so more of the emphasis on this around the later part of the week. And also, this is an especially important point in the lunar cycle because this Virgo moon is connecting in with the Mercury, Jupiter, Saturn T-square. This moon is actually completing it and making it so that it's a cross versus just a T-square. And so I think that there's also this sense of like really allowing something to come forward for you, to come something to come forward around your ideas, the way that you make meaning of things, your path, and you know the complicated feelings around your path forward, the complicated feelings around what is possible versus what is practical. And I want us to all hold space for the multiplicity of Virgo, where Virgo can be about discernment and like really looking at the whole system of things. And it can also symbolize, especially Virgo opposite Saturn this week, Saturn and Pisces. There can be a symbolism around being overly or harshly critical towards oneself or towards others. And in my experience, this harsh criticalness is a sign of a couple of different things. It's a sign of having an idealized vision that doesn't quite meet reality right now. And so I think that we can hold space for ourselves and for others, and meet ourselves and others where we're at now, while also holding space for the potential ideal for the vision. I think this is really the work of Virgo to do that, and that is an ongoing meditative journey. And then also, I think when we have overly critical thoughts, again, this is thoughts towards yourself or towards someone else, thoughts around like not being good enough or needing to move away from, it can sometimes tell us that there is something that needs some extra care. The criticalness comes in often as an attempt to try to control something or to create security or safety where it feels like something is out of control, or like where there is not security and safety. And with Moon Saturn, there is such an emphasis around emotional safety and how can we have emotional containment, versus another version of Moon Saturn, which is emotional distance or emotional abandonment. And so I think there's a lot to be experienced here around how we can hold space for ourselves, for others, in a way that feels safe and containing for you based on what you need right now. And that any of these feelings that come up around criticalness, it's like, okay, what's happening there, and what is it that you may need at this point in time to feel contained, to feel supported, to feel nourished. And the last piece I'll say, I know I said I had a lot more to say, I guess. The last piece I'll say here too is that we also have another minor aspect involving Venus making a sextile to Saturn. So Venus is in Capricorn. It's making a minor but supportive sextile aspect to Saturn in Pisces. So in this case, we have earth and water. So it's very stabilizing. And this is a symbol of practical support that is available to you, especially in relationships, around healing. And so I'm like really emphasizing the multiple layers of this because I do feel this week is multi-layered, as most weeks are, but this one especially. And there is such a potential for really moving into grappling with challenging experiences and then also finding a sense of internal or external support. My hope is for you to find support in the way that you need it. What is going to be most satiating for you right now? Okay, so now let us let us look at the tarot. So now is the point to get into a moment as best as you can where you can connect with yourself, with your own experience right now. So I'm shuffling the cards, and you can connect in with your body, connect in with your breath, connect in with any sensations that you feel, sounds or textures, whatever speaks to you in this moment, whatever is easiest for you to focus on right now in this particular point. And grounding your attention in something, whatever your point of focus is in this moment. Feeling yourself safe and grounded and connected here. This is also a really beautiful time to request the presence of your spiritual guidance team, your ancestors, whatever your experience is of the divine or something greater than yourself. Ask that they are here with you now to help you, to support you, to guide you, and to communicate with you in a way that you can easily understand right now. Okay, and in this space, maybe a question or an inquiry arises in your awareness, something that you'd like support around. And I'm pulling 3 cards. So also you can allow a number between 1 and 3 to arise in your mind. And that card will be special for you. Okay. Oh my gosh. You are not going to believe this. So, okay, 3 cards. So first card, I pulled the King of Wands. This is, am I remembering this right? I think this is the 3rd time in a row that I have pulled this particular card in different, this is in a different deck this week. And so in this particular deck, the King of Wands has a figure of this person with like a very tall staff wand, and they are like striking this very cool pose where they're like, hello, here I am, that's right, I'm the King of Wands. And they're wearing this really beautiful sort of burgundy colored dress with this like a mesh kind of dress, and then they have a crown on their head. But their pose is so striking to me. There's like a self-assuredness to their pose, but also a like a self-assuredness, but then also a relaxed quality to it as well. They're very comfortable in their own skin here, is the feeling that I'm getting of this. And so the King of Wands in its essence is about the ongoing growth process of your inspiration, of your passion, of your intuition, of your instinctual nature. The part of you that is Mars, the part of you that is fire, the part of you that gets excited about things, the part of you that gets fired up, and how that is embodied and expressed through you in a way where you can hold this energy, like you can hold the flame inside of you. You can hold the flame in a way where it is sustaining, and that there's like a strength and stability about it. King also tends to be a symbol of influence, impact, leadership. The king is a steward of power, is a steward of being of service to the folks in your community. And I want to look at the other cards here, so we might go back to that in a moment. But very interesting. Okay, the second card is the World. And this is such a culmination card. This is the final card in the deck. In this particular card, there's a person who, they look like they're doing some sort of dance pose, like a very graceful pose, and they're wearing very high heels. And the World is a symbol of culmination of all of the things that you've been doing to gain worldly success. And when I say that, that could be worldly success in the way that we conceptualize it here in the West. It could also be a sense of mastery. It could be a sense of a culmination around things that maybe have been difficult or arduous. You've been on a journey, really, I think is the World. And just initially, when I'm sort of feeling into the first card, the King of Wands, there's this sense of holding your place and having a sense of being able to stand within your own sense of autonomy and empowerment and surety. And what a beautiful card to get following that is this culmination of the World, of accomplishment, of I want to say satisfaction, but it feels like more than satisfaction. It's like I've done something. And what is coming to my mind right now in this moment is that this feeling of accomplishment can take so many different forms, and it can mean so many different things to us. And the last card that I pulled here is the Ten of Swords. And the Ten of Swords, so actually I pulled this reversed, which I quite like in this trifecta, because the Ten of Swords, traditionally, there's this theme around like having gone through something that's very difficult and sort of being like, there's a sense of surrender to the Ten of Swords. And when I see this card reversed, there is a sense of surrendering the to what is just beginning over the horizon. And it's like a releasing of all of the pain, like the swords. It's releasing of the pain that you have experienced and releasing the things that have been pinning you down, that have felt heavy, that have felt like they are causing pain. The 10 in general is this beginning and ending at the same time. And so as I'm looking at these together, and so actually, so like also, if you have chosen this as your card, the Ten of Swords, there is this theme around surrendering. And I don't mean surrendering in like, oh, it's, like I can't do anything, I'm powerless. It's more like, oh, like this is where I'm at right now. And working with what it is that you have available to you, but then still maintaining that like hope. Because in the traditional card, there's like this sunrise that's on the horizon. The Ten of Swords feels like when we have a descent, like the Greek goddess Persephone, or Inanna, the Babylonian goddess, going down, descending down into the underworld, and then coming back up. The Ten of Swords is when we're down in the underworld. It's like the very most concentrated depths. And when it's reversed, this tells me that there's a movement back up to the surface. And so as I'm feeling into this, there is this sense of like empowered mastery that's coming forward. And this may be, I'm really feeling like the Plutonian experience here, like the paradox of empowerment and what it means to feel like you have a sense of vitality and power within yourself. And then how to release the things that feel like they are like they're keeping you in the depths. And that this can look like a variety of different things, but there's something here that's being exercised out of you via this process of connecting in with what feels like power and masterfulness to you. All right. That is your forecast for the week. I hope that you enjoyed this. As always, I am wishing you a most easeful week, week of safety and grace and whatever else it is that you need right now at this particular moment. I will see you soon. Take good care.